I think I know what to say.
Welcome to Practical Psychology Podcast, Episode 9. Today we are very happy. I'm Joseph, the co host.
And I'm Tara, co-host as well. So today we have a two wonderful guests, actually. We have two sisters, both uh, registered psychotherapists qualifying. One graduated several years ago and one recently. So we have Gelly and Govi. They're both um, they're both Iranian Canadian women in their 20s, and they have an interest in not just providing good psychotherapy when in crisis, but also how to be a little more preventive with mental health. So, welcome to the podcast today, Gelly and Gopi.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So, Gailey and Govi, the first question a lot of viewers want to ask is you are two sisters. Have you guys arranged this arrangement here to both become psychotherapists in Toronto?
Maybe I should answer this first.
Yeah, maybe you should. Yeah.
Basically, so Gailey, she went to York for her bachelor's, and we both did bachelor in the arts. When I was in high school, I wasn't sure yet what I was going to do, but I knew that I liked and I enjoyed the social sciences as well. And she really highly recommended it to me too, because we were good at the same stuff in terms of social sciences, but also bad at the same stuff, which was like math, and like the harder sciences. So I decided to also follow in her footsteps, and I also did a Bachelor of the Arts at Psychology at York U as well. So it wasn't really planned on her end. She was just doing her thing. I just decided to follow the same stuff.
What for Gailey here?
To be honest, I think it just happened by chance. I do love reading a lot. So I actually got into chemistry because I was planning on becoming a pharmacist. So when I applied to Ryerson, because I was really good at chemistry back in high school, I thought that could be a head start and just, jump into choosing a field similar to chem. And my father was encouraging me towards becoming a pharmacist. Little did I know the challenges that follows in that. So when I got into chemistry, I noticed it's definitely not my kind of a field. The job itself is what I did not even think about. I just, when I was doing my school years in university, my study years in university studying chemistry, I noticed not only I'm not enjoying my studies, but I also don't even see myself as a pharmacist working in a pharmacy. So I decided to change major. I applied to York University, and the reason I applied to a different university was because it was York is much stronger when it comes to psychology and sciences rather than Ryerson. So I switched universities and I got into psychology. I think at the beginning, I just decided to do psychology because I loved reading and reading and reading. And I was like, oh, that's probably a very interesting topic to get into. And so by chance, I got into it. And again, by chance, I fell in love with it and actually became really good at it. So I kind of got lucky.
We are Gailey and Govi here. It also you both have a strong background in psychology and a passion for psychology here. And for a lot of psychotherapists here, we first look at who is your role model. And especially for Govi, you look at your sister practicing for a number of years here. Are there any pressure from her?
Is there any pressure from Gailey to me?
Yeah, because you look up to your big sister.
Honestly, no pressure. I think if anything, it's far more helpful to watch someone else do it because in terms of the process of even getting into a master's program and such, when I was in my bachelor's, I wasn't sure yet, for instance, which program would be the best for me to choose from. And watching her, and she was really enjoying, Yorkville University, and she also suggested it to me. And I was more than like excited to go to the same place because I knew we have the same kind of background and expectations from a program. And I wanted somewhere that I knew was really going to care about the clients and was actually going to teach us proper therapy work. Rather than just research based, because a lot of the graduate programs are surrounded with research and more of the background aspect of it than working one-on-one with clients. And I needed something like that to help people, which was something I was interested in. And so it's far more helpful to have her around because she really gave me pointers and also, if anything, gave me a like head start as a friend would in the same program. But like having her around, and we live together. So any question that I have, I'm just like, what do you think about this? What should I do here? And she's like, this is what you should do step by step. And she's so advanced and so helpful. So it's like having a teacher in the house with you.
It must be wonderful to have a mentor in your family.
Oh, yeah.
Um, yeah, to answer all those questions because it can be really tricky when you're starting. What do you think, do you find you've deviated in terms of what your modalities are? What are the differences between you two in terms of how you think well, I know you're just starting out your practice, but how do you think you're going to start, um, which modalities are you drawn to versus Gelly? I want to know what you're drawn to as well.
Okay. I'll go after Gogi.
For me personally, I think I like something more. I really want to get more into CBT, and I love solution focused brief therapy because I know that there's a lot of clients who really need answers quickly. I'm one of those people who I like when I ask a therapist something, I really need something to be like, quick and fast rather than like this slow process. Like for instance, psychodynamic, I know it takes up to, you can be in therapy for years and you could be doing it for such a long time. I really wanted something that had a stronger scientific background to it with a lot more valid research. Not that the other modalities don't have it, they certainly do, and that's helpful as well. I'm hoping to dabble in all of them though before I can give like a strict answer on exactly what, because I know every client is different and I hope to get advanced in quite a lot of them before I can be like, okay, just one, because I think people need different types of modalities and a creative kind of recipe to it.
Mhm. Yeah, well, CBT is a great base for that because a lot of the other modalities definitely stem off of CBT. Um, Gilly?
So, Gailey, you practice for a number of years here. What would be some of your advice to give to your sister, Govi, or anybody starting in this field?
Um, to be honest, the advice that I would give, well, first of all, I'm still in no place to give advice, but if I would have to give some recommendations, is the first recommendation is actually what you gave me, Joe, when I started. Remember when I came to you and I said, Joe, I don't have enough knowledge. Recommend me books. I want to read, like teach me. And the first one of the nicest things you said then was before you get into any book, start working, practice, do therapy. And with experience, you're going to learn more and more and more. And that was actually one of the things that I did at first. I just kept working and working and seeing clients. And even though I didn't have the knowledge I have today back in the day, I did start reading, of course, but before I got into any reading and any books, I did notice that I'm improving drastically by just working and working. And so just the working and performing therapy is what helped me get more advanced, understand what I need to say, what I should not be saying, um, what techniques to use more often and less often, or in what areas I should be using them, right? So performing therapy alone helped me with that. And it's one of the biggest advices that Joe gave me when I
Mhm.
started, fresh, just like Gobi is right now. However, after that, I did find a book that is called What Has Nobody Told Me Before by Dr. Julie Smith. That book changed my therapy life. That book is, I basically teach that book in my sessions in a very educational, strong way, just because it drastically helps navigate everybody's lives, like my own and my clients. And it's such a strong book. And she also did come up with a second book as well recently, which I haven't purchased, so I don't have nothing to say about that yet because I haven't got into it myself. But that book, I even give the book to my clients. I'm like, here, like, I'll give it to you. Go download it, go buy it from Amazon, purchase it, read it. It's amazing for people. So basically what it covers is depression, anxiety, criticism, motivation, goal setting. It covers everything briefly, but yet in such a detailed way. So it's an amazing book, and I highly recommend it. Actually, Gobi is actually reading it right now.
Wow.
It's an amazing book. Another book that I got into is called Attachment. That book Gobi gave me was way before she got before into this major. It covers a different attachment. It's amazing for relationships. Like, I have lots of clients that are young girls. They go through breakups, heartbreaks. And when it comes to their attachment style, they don't even know what that is. So when it comes to secure, anxious, avoidant, sometimes both avoidant and anxious, some people have. That book is amazing for that when it comes to relationships. So basically, reading books for myself also teaches me a lot of things. And honestly, as a psychotherapist, I don't think you can ever have enough knowledge. So the more you get to read, but it is tricky. Not every book is as valuable. So you got to choose the right books. I have more
We'll make
books.
sure we have the links to these two books here in the
Yeah,
comments.
I will. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, be great.
And
So I
Gailey
know,
here.
oh, sorry,
Oh,
go ahead,
Tara, you
Joe.
go ahead.
So I know both of you have an interest in more preventative mental health work, right? Because really it's something we don't have enough in our society, and people come in when they're in a crisis. But could you say a little bit more about why you've decided to focus on that, Gilly?
Focus on what exactly? The topics that we talked about?
Yeah, why you focused on promoting more preventative strategies?
So basically, the reason is first of all, everybody needs it, right? So if I just do one technique, CBT is the most common technique that every counselor, right? So, but if you use CBT alone, you're not going to be helpful. You need to know other techniques. Like, as a therapist, you need to know how to do DBT. You need to know how to do solution focused based. You need to do a little bit of an EMDR, even though I don't do it myself. I pass it to my colleague who actually is specialized in that area. I think when it comes to trauma, it's good to be more professional when it comes to it. I have done desensitization techniques with my clients,
Mm-hmm.
but I try to pass them on to my other colleague who's actually very good at it. But everybody needs preventatives, because if you work on basically the core of therapy is working on your self-confidence, your self-esteem. And when it comes to that, there's so many things that you should be doing, right? It leads to your feelings, your thoughts, your emotions. So I get into so many details. To be honest, it's not just one thing. I do so many things at once. So that's why when I have when I get new clients, they stay with me for a very, very long time. I don't let them go until they progress 100%. And to be honest, one of the complaints I get is the first few sessions that we see you is so intense, we don't want to continue, but none of them actually leave. They actually stay strong until it gets better. Because at first, when you go to counseling, you're raising the client's self-awareness, and it's not always fun. So you don't really like it. You don't like to hear the truth like that, especially from a professional, because it could be true now. So I think that's where clients tend to maybe terminate more often. I thank God I haven't had a lot of that in the past few years of my work field, but I do get that feedback. At first, it was very difficult, but we're glad we stayed. Yeah. So it's actually one of the things that I learned with the feedback, actually, Govi, for you is when
Mm,
you gain feedback, it's actually one of the best thing to do with your clients. Because with feedbacks, now when I open my first session after giving an introduction of how it's going to be, this and that, I do add you might feel overwhelmed and a little bit shocked in the first few sessions. So that prevents them from actually getting shocked because they're like, okay, what there's something going to happen that's not going to be so fun. So then they makes them feel a little less overwhelmed and it makes them continue the sessions.
it's very good here, Gailey. I want to ask Govi here. So, Govi, I know that Gailey has been doing psychotherapy for a number of years. And I know from her that she'll be sharing some of the intake 3R screening, the intake assessment with you here. And I'm sure when you are seeing Gailey, she's very busy. She's very busy doing psychotherapy, talking to clients, case management, doing some of the long psychotherapy, the administration, billing, and all that here. Do you ever find it overwhelming when you watch your sister doing all that?
Honestly, she makes it look super easy. I'm feeling overwhelmed because I'm just starting out in terms of, doing intakes and getting into the sessions with the clients. And I still have to review a lot of the information that you gave me, Joe, in terms of like structuring the session. And obviously, I have the training for it, but certainly it's different from school. Like you come out and they give you like an actual paper and you need to review that information with the client. Even if it is already written down by the client, you need to get into the details because there's a lot of stuff they might not say on the phone. Obviously, they're not comfortable,
Mm,
or stuff will come up, as Gaily said before to me. She said some stuff is going to come up in the session that they never even shared with you in the beginning. Like it's going to come
mhm.
up later. But she makes it look so easy because she has a lot of great boundaries around her sessions. Like I'll be like, I need help. And she's like, I'm busy. Don't talk to me right now. Go talk to Joe. She's like, I can't talk right now. And then she's like, but then she'll help me out like in an hour or two. But then I stress out in that hour and two waiting for her to get back to me on what I need to be doing because there's a lot of expectations, certainly. And these are individuals that are real and they need help and they want us to be as efficient as we can. So I want to try to get back to them as soon as possible. But also, I need to wait on my supervisors and my mentor in the house. Yeah. But certainly I feel overwhelmed because in terms of remembering all the details about the clients, because you are calling multiple people a day and you have to remember their names, they have certain expectations, as they should. But I'm also hanging on by the ropes and trying to like figure it out without stressing out, but that's impossible. So an amount of stress is definitely needed. Like this is a normal amount of stress, but I'm sure I will get through it with your help, Joe.
Oh, yeah, Govi and Gailey, you mentioned a very important principle here. Psychotherapy is a demanding career, a lot to learn upfront, and also is a lifelong learning for both us and the clients themselves to change lives. And so the next topic, a lot of the viewers are very interested is in the introduction, they say Gailey and also Govi, you have the Iranian background. I know that you practice in near downtown Toronto, really diverse. How do you see that Iranian cultural heritage come into play in your psychotherapy?
Who should go first? Govi. Do I go first or you go first?
I'll go first and then you can, because you have more detail with the client backgrounds. But for me personally, I'm actually very excited about having the Iranian background because in that sense, especially if you know the language, you can help a lot of the Iranians who, they move out here and they don't speak a lot of English and they just need some extra help, obviously. And I think therapists who have different languages are definitely equipped to handle diverse clients as well. So the more languages, the better. Or even if you have one extra language, that it's quite helpful because there's so many immigrants in Canada, and Canada is quite
Mhm.
literally made up of immigrants and diverse populations. And especially if you're like an Iranian like myself and Geli, you will certainly wrap your head around the background, the values, and what the expectations are from the client a lot quicker than someone who has to really wrap their head around what the culture is if they're not from a collectivistic culture, for instance. I think me and Gary, what we bring to the table that's quite unique is that we are both individualistic and collectivistic, so we can really understand both those perspectives without having to really get into it in terms of educating ourselves, because you can get cultural competence from, online learning, Netflix documentaries, talking to different diverse people from different backgrounds. But when you're really from that background yourself, you definitely have a more detailed, intense knowledge. Like you're there with the client and you can definitely share in their experiences, which is so different than researching about it or reading about it.
Mhm.
So
Wow.
you both
How do
you
you
both
say?
speak Farsi?
Yes.
Yes.
Kelly, what do you think? How does it help you in your practice?
To be honest, it helps me plenty. Um, because when it comes to, there's a big difference between an individualistic culture and then a collectivist culture. There's a huge difference. And when you come from a Middle Eastern culture, like I have lots of Middle Eastern clients, and I think being a Middle Eastern really helps understand the dynamic of Middle Eastern families clearly, but also
Mhm.
it allows me room to pass actually less judgment when it comes to, because you got to understand that when it comes to Middle Eastern family, the difference there are good and bad differences. There's good and bad in everything, but the toxic dynamic, there's a book called Toxic Parents. I don't know if you've heard of it. You view that more in more Middle Eastern families than Canadian, American. They have their own flaws, 100%. It's just the expectations is more in Middle Eastern families from children, because Middle Eastern families, number one, help their kids way more financially than when it comes to more individualistic culture. So obviously, if you're getting more money, then it comes with a cost, right? It's not just, oh, what a great time being in a Middle Eastern family. No, it
Right.
comes with a cost. And the cost is having high expectations. Are you becoming a doctor? Are you finding a rich husband? That's the scenario in every Middle Eastern family. So when I opened the session with a Middle Eastern individual coming from a Middle Eastern background, and that kind of an environment, the first thing the first thing that I'm really good at now is to normalize the pattern that's similar in every single Middle Eastern family. And when you normalize the pattern, you tend to judge your family less. You tend to get less upset, less angry, understand why this is happening. It's not me alone that's going through this. And that itself creates a great awareness for clients to say, okay, you know what? If this is something everybody's going through, then, why am I so upset? Let me just focus on myself, my needs, what I want, right? So maybe if I didn't come, maybe if I wasn't Persian, I wouldn't be able to offer that feedback,
Mhm.
that strong, like, hey, you're not alone. I've experienced it myself. Let me tell you a little bit about my own experience. It's so similar. And when the client hears the similarity, they're like, oh my God. And it makes them feel
Mhm.
so much better. They don't feel alone anymore. So that's one of the greatest thing I'm actually very happy that I'm Middle Eastern. Love it, even though comes with its own challenges, 100%. But yeah, yeah. And I do have lots of because we immigrated to Canada almost 20 years ago. So I experienced lots of friends that were Canadian, pure Canadian, white families. So I know their mentalities, how they do things. So it's not it's not like I don't have any knowledge when it comes to that, but it's definitely more challenging being raised in a collectivist culture. So I'm kind of happy I have that background, that knowledge.
And Gailey here, on your day-to-day clients, what would you say the percentage of ethnic minorities compared to Caucasian in your caseload?
Uh, to be honest with you, I think I barely have any Caucasian actually. Most of my clients are, I think, lots of Indians, lots of, I guess, Middle Easterns from different backgrounds,
Mhm.
lots of Canadians. But
Mhm.
yeah, basically surrounds that. Not too many Persians at all, which is kind of surprising.
Oh
Just
yeah.
a few, yeah. Um,
And
yeah,
along
basically.
that line there, Gailey, because in a lot of different cultures, one of the biggest challenge for any psychotherapist in Toronto or anywhere is how to break that taboo. It is a strong taboo and stigma for them to seek help.
This stigma for them to seek help. This stigma for everybody, to be honest.
Mhm.
What I gotta say is, more young people come to
Mhm.
counseling way more. So it's like an age kind of
Mhm.
like age plays a role mostly more than culture. It's not
Okay.
culture that plays a role. I think it's actually age. Um, I have lots of millennial clients and lots of Gen Z generation clients. When it comes to older clients, I have less and less. I do have, but it's definitely a little less in comparison because um, nowadays people are learning that psychology helps. It's a real thing. You don't have to, because if you guys remember,
Mhm.
our parents used to not go to counseling because they thought counseling is for crazy people, right? Whereas nowadays, that's no longer the case. Everybody has a counselor. Counselor means you are looking for guidance. You haven't lost your mind. You need
Mhm.
guidance. And that is something that young people understand much better than old people. Much better than old people. When it comes to older people, they need to hit rock bottom to come into counseling. That's what I'm saying. That's my experience so far.
How about for Govi here, since you are the youngest in here? From your experience in the Gen Z, okay, what is some of the observations here for them seeking psychotherapy or counseling?
Well, I do believe what Gelly said is 100% true. In terms of age, therapy is becoming more and more accepted. And I think one of the reasons is social media awareness as well, because psychology is talked about on podcasts. There is also therapists now doing therapy on Spotify. Like there's two therapists I
Mm.
know. It's by Lori Gottlieb and Guy Winch, and that's a really great podcast, a
Oh.
really great resource because they bring in a client, for instance, they're two therapists and they work with the client. And seeing those resources just so readily available out there compared to like way back then with our parents who did not really have these. It wasn't on their social media all the time. You know, therapists can now also have the ability to market their resources. And that goes with different businesses, such as even working out. I don't know if you guys have noticed
Mhm.
Pilates is a huge thing now because a lot of people get to see it on social media. And I think mental health is the same, where so many therapists get to share their ideas and make it more normal. But certainly, I would say for a Middle Eastern background, it's definitely that taboo and stigma is certainly there. Like I've noticed, like a lot of my friends are Persian, and I noticed that there's very few men who will actually go to therapy or will say, I'm in therapy. They might not even say it or admit to it, even if they are, because there's this taboo of being too sensitive, being weak. It's associated with going to therapy. But I do believe that it's more like it's the opposite is that you're stronger for asking for help than like waiting to hit that rock bottom, like what Gelly said. Don't wait until that time. A lot of men, like men are more likely, for instance, to commit suicide than women are because they feel, more vulnerable to share their feelings and they're taught from a younger age, I can't talk about my feelings. But there's this very safe space with therapy where you don't have to talk about your feelings with other people in your life if you're not comfortable with it, because this is not a forced thing where you have to talk about your feelings with everybody. You're not comfortable yet. That's okay. So therapy is a space where you get to have that in a confidential place where no one's going to go tell anyone what you've said, what you feel. It's a great practice and it definitely seeps into the rest of your life in terms of if you can do it in therapy, naturally it's going to happen outside of therapy. So if you feel like if you get through whatever pain you're feeling in therapy, that the happiness that comes afterwards, it really seeps into the rest of your social relationships.
And go over here along this topic because psychotherapy cover a lot of different topics, coaching, athlete training, sports psychology for both positive, neutral along this line here. When you are hanging out with your Gen Z friends or the population, what are the common topics or concerns?
Common topics of concerns. Ooh.
According to Govi.
Oh, according to Govi. Okay, so my spec like I definitely have a limited spectrum because there's only so many people I can know. But in my personal experience, I would say that exercise is a huge thing now, which is a really great positive. So I don't want to talk about just the negatives. Exercise is now becoming a huge trend. I see all
Yes.
my friends going to some form of exercise. I see them going to aerial hoop, which is very great for playfulness and creativity and having fun. So exercise doesn't have to just be about I have to go and burn calories and stay this certain weight or like, achieve this goal. It can be a fun thing if you find a fun exercise. It's better to move sometimes than not move at all. I go by that, even my own life. Pilates is very huge now, and a lot of my friends are becoming instructors in Pilates and yoga. Yeah, and yoga is very good for mental health. My own therapist really, really recommended it to me when I was in studying and doing my papers. It's really great for mind-body connection, so breath work. And a lot of the exercises might not have that mind and body connection. And it's a much easier form to get adjusted to than other exercises that can be a little bit more tougher on the body. So I have to say, in terms of Gen Z, I see a lot of
Mm,
exercise happening, which is great. They sign up for different
mhm,
things. But the negatives is in terms of social relationships, there's a little bit more isolation happening because people don't call each other as much anymore. There's a lot more texting happening, so not a lot of face-to-face communication is happening. And I noticed that there's a huge difference between calling someone and communicating versus if I'm texting you all the time. And I notice on my friends, they fully will never answer their phone. And that's a bit weird. Like I think like in terms of like way back then, my parents were a lot more social. They definitely were a little bit more content to socialize than now, where it's a bit behind the screen, as well as dating life challenges. I see a lot of situationships or people not committing to their relationships. It's a lot of like dating different people because there's a lot of options. And for a lot of people that works, and for a lot of people that doesn't work. So I support in terms of different kinds of relationships. I support that for different kinds of people because I know like it's not rigid. I have to be in a relationship. That's definitely not
mhm.
what I'm going for. Different clients have different needs and different people do. But I do think a lot of people have a harder time committing now to relationships. And I think in the long run, I see that hurting some people, even if it works for others. So that there's that dilemma there. Yeah.
So great here. And in here, Gailey and Gofi, a lot of the viewers are also very interested about because you both are psychotherapists in Ontario, Toronto. In the future, any sort of collaborations, running a podcast, doing a business, doing a class together for as two sisters.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's a little too soon to talk about that, but me and Gobi do talk about, oh, one day we're gonna have our own business. We're gonna have a big office with two different rooms, and we'll pass clients to one another, and yeah, definitely creating videos together. This is actually our first, thanks to Joe. So yeah, definitely 100%. It's on our mind. It just maybe it's not happening right now, but it hopefully will soon.
How about for you, Govi?
Oh, yes, that's absolutely true. I definitely see us collaborating quite often. Again, it is soon because we are still figuring things out and we have an 8-year age gap. So she could be in a different place in her life and I could be in a different place in my life. But if we have any opportunities like today, for instance, to collaborate, and if it works within our schedules, then we are certainly like open to it. And I think it's very cute to have like a sister kind of counseling place for people to come in and choose which sister they want to work with. I think that's very cute.
Yeah, because I know in Tara's family, you have multiple professionals. So, yeah,
Oh yeah,
for Tara
everyone in
also to
my
choose.
immediate family went to what actually has psychology degrees from the same university. Every
Yeah.
single member.
That's
But I'm the only one currently practicing.
And Terry has a lot of stories about collaborating with family members, but we won't talk about this today.
another time.
Yeah, it's
So
very
today
nice
we are
sometimes.
very happy here to see Gailey and Govi here. We would love to invite you again to the podcasts.
We would love to
And
take the time.
if any viewers want to get more psychotherapy or psychology tips, hacks, or information for counseling, how do they reach out to you? What is your linked websites and social media? Govi and Gailey.
Uh, to be honest, I do have a phone number that is for my clients, and I use phone calls. It's much more efficient. They call me, leave a voicemail, or shoot a text, and I'll call back and I set them up. That's the easiest. So I find that much more convenient for me rather than email, but I also do have an email that I can provide.
Whatever you want to provide, we can link it below so
Okay.
people can reach you. And I'm surprised you don't have that many Persian clients because there's such a big community here. So
You
maybe
know,
yeah, this
you're
could
right.
beef that up.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. That is actually, I was shocked too at first, but now I'm not. You know why? Because we have lots of counselors back home and they work with back home counselors and it costs them only $30 a session. So I'm assuming that's what's happening, and that is definitely not my rate. I do offer sliding scale affordable counseling for $70 a session minimum. For those who don't have coverage or insurance, they can use that. And but anything under that, I would unfortunately I don't. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
do. And
So Govi,
in
as
Ontario,
go yeah,
$150 an hour is a rate of psychotherapy, and
yeah,
$70 is a steal, in my opinion.
definitely, definitely. I was gonna say since Govi is starting her practicum, maybe she can reel in some Farsi clients and move them over.
Well, I hope so. Govi, I'm waiting.
Hopefully, but sometimes I think it's best on occasion not to work with like I would love to work with Persian clients. I think that would be so much fun and very enjoyable for me. But also I think that the the city is so small and a lot of Persians know each other. So I feel like that would be a little bit unethical because I would be talking to the client and then the day after I'd see them at a party somewhere, it's a bit awkward. But like I'm more than open to it because like obviously there's so many Persians coming in that now I don't think you would know absolutely everybody. I'm absolutely open to it, but I would say that there's a community here that everybody knows each other. So I'd rather not do counseling with someone that I could know potentially.
We'll just make sure they're the older clients.
Oh yes,
Then
certainly.
then you'll be good. No dual relationships.
No dual relationships here.
Okay, I'll see you next time. Welcome, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Joe. Thank you, Tara.
you.